Good morning. It is a little bit after 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the Ultimate Baby Sleep Group. It is Wednesday, May 17th, I believe, and we are here to go through all of your questions. I realized in my post last night there was a little bit of a typo. I had written how to transition from bed to crib. That was a mistake. I meant crib to bed. Okay, we weren't talking about co-sleeping from bringing a baby, from a bed into a crib, or vice versa. We're talking about how to transition when a baby or a toddler is sleeping in a crib and how to properly transition them and when they are ready to transition to a bed. Okay, so there were a lot of questions here. I'm going to try to go through some of them at least, but before I do that, I want to talk about a little bit of some base ideas in terms of this, but we're going to get into that in a second. For those of you who are new to the group, and I always say this, every Monday we have a question thread with a theme. This week is questions about transitioning from a crib to a bed. And then on Wednesdays, I come in and talk about the questions, talk about the general idea, and give you some guidance on how to move forward with that. So, talking about cribs in general. All right. Now, there are a lot of reasons people feel that their child or children are ready to transition from a crib to a bed. So let's first talk about the things that occur that make you think your child's ready. Then I'm going to talk about when your child is actually ready. And then we'll talk about how to properly do the transition if and when those two things are met, those two criteria are met. Number one. People usually jump to put their children into beds or think their child is ready for a bed, most commonly when a child starts climbing out of their crib. This usually happens around 2.5 years old. And people often think, oh, well, my child can climb out of their crib, so it's not safe for them to stay in their crib, right? Obviously, it's not safe if your child's climbing over, banging their head on the floor. Or, oh, my child's ready to be in a bed now because they don't want to be in their crib, whatever the case may be. So first and foremost, a lot of you are not going to like what I'm going to say, but I'm always here to help you and give you my honest opinion, not necessarily, sugar it up and tell you what sounds all sweet and nice. I do not like transitioning children to beds. And when I say beds, I mean toddler beds, like the picture that we have here in the question thread, or, a big boy bed or a big girl bed, until a child is close to 3 years old, or at least closer to 2.5. Okay. Why do I say this? For a few reasons. Number one, and I think I've said this before on a few other lives that we have done, but I cannot say it enough. Okay. Number one, the reason I don't like to do it is because a child is not developmentally ready to understand that they have to stay put in their bed. So that's just causing a technical setup. Sorry, there's another camera watching me. That's just causing a technical failure in essence, because your child, you're teaching them that they have to stay put in their bed, but they don't understand that they're supposed to stay put. So they're going to come out, you're going to put them back in. They're going to come out, you're going to put them back in. It's going to become a whole power struggle, a game of Jack in the Box. And why would we do that if our child's not developmentally ready? And I never, ever like to use punishment or consequences or anything negative associated with bedtime. That's number one. Number two, before that age bracket, it's potentially not safe, okay? Unless you have a baby gate or you're locking the door or closing the door, you don't want your child to have free roam of the house. You don't want them to be able to get into the kitchen, God forbid, or climb onto something in the middle of the night. So I typically don't like to move children earlier, okay? Now, there's a lot of things you can do when you feel your child is ready before that age bracket without necessarily moving them into a big boy or big girl bed, okay? A lot of those things really have to do with the fact that your child might be showing you signs that they can climb out and they're developing at rapid paces, but they're not ready to be in a bed just because they're 1.5 and they're climbing out. So we'll talk about that. I think we did a stream about climbing out of the crib or coming out of bed a few weeks back. So go back and watch that live. I spoke in detail about how to actually act as a physical, objective barrier to teach your child to stay put, because I'm not going to recommend a child under 2 being in a bed. In very, very rare circumstances, I will, but generally speaking, it's not a good idea for all those reasons I just said. It's technically setting you up that your child is going to come out a lot, and it's technically setting up the situation in such a way where your child's just going to get more and more upset, and we don't want that to happen, and we don't want it to become this power struggle or this back and forth, okay? So that's just a little bit of preliminary work. Now, assuming your child is above the 2.5 to 3-year-old mark and is developmentally at that place where they can understand mommy says don't come out or daddy says don't come out, whatever the case may be, closer to that age bracket, then let's talk about the proper ideas of what you can do to actually transition properly from being in a crib to being in a bed. All right. Now, I'm going to give you some base ideas, and then I'll go through some of these questions a little bit. And I'm a bit more of a rush today. I have a son who is not feeling so well, so I have to take him to the doctor, which I know you all get, so I don't know if I'll have as much time as I normally do. But in general, when a child is ready to transition into a bed, and I've spoken about this a lot with bedtime battles and a lot with different ideas, but number one is you have to make it a privilege to be in the bed. It's not a punishment. It's not something that either just nonchalantly happens. You want to build it up and build your child up in such a way that they feel awesome, that they have this privilege of being so big to be in a big girl or big boy bed. And what I actually recommend doing, this is the only time in the spectrum of sleep ever that you will hear me talk about some type of form of consequence. Ever, okay? I never like to use negativity, and I use the word consequence here because it's not negative, it's just cause and effect. You do X, Y happens, but this is the only time that even something that could be subjectively said is possibly negative I will ever institute for sleep. But when you are transitioning a toddler from a crib to a bed, what I like to do is get the bed all set up, get them involved, have them buy something special, a special pillow, a special stuffed animal, pick out the sheets, whatever it is, build them up, feel like $1 million, you're so excited, but keep the crib in the room with them. Why? You explain to them, it's so amazing, it's so great, it's so grand, but part of the responsibility, or however you're going to tell your 3-year-old, they don't even know how to say responsibility, part of that comes along with the fact that you have to stay in your bed. You're so big, mommy sleeps in a bed, daddy sleeps in a bed, cousin X sleeps in a bed, your friend sleeps in a bed, neighbor sleeps in a bed. That's awesome, but that means we have to stay in our bed because you are so big. And what will happen, unless you have this very obedient, straight-laced, black and white child, is you're going to put them in, and most likely is they're going to come out. Test the waters. Is she really serious? I have to stay in my bed? Is that really what's going on here? And at that point, you'll tell them, listen, if you come out of the bed, you're going to have to go back in the crib. And that's just how it is, because that's what happens if we have to come out. If we come out of the bed, we have to go back into the crib. It's not negative. It's not, and if you come out of your bed, you are going into that crib because you're so bad. No negativity. It's just cause and effect of action, okay? And if you come out of the bed, that means you're going to have to sleep in the crib that night, and we'll try again the next night. It's not, because you were a bad boy or a bad girl, or because you did this, and this. It's just what happens. So, in the likely occurrence that your child comes out of that bed, night number 1, sleeping in a big girl or big boy bed, and the crib is still in the room, pick them up, and you put them in the crib. And you're sleeping in the crib tonight. No, because of this or because of that, or I'm so sorry, we'll try again. No emotions from you. It's just a technical cause and effect. And night number 2, same thing. After 2-3 nights, they're going to get the hang of it and say, wow, she's serious and she means business. If I want to sleep in this bed, I better stay in this bed, because when mommy says or daddy says that when I come out, I have to go back in the crib, it happens. They see that that's what's going on. And remember, it's all about a loving authority. We're not here to be like dictators and say, these are the rules. It's a very clear rule. And when a child is close to 3, they can understand that and they see that you follow through with it. Okay, so that's just a little bit of background. Why people often want to transition their kids to beds, why I don't like doing it at certain ages, what the ideal age is, and what the general theory is. I could get into this, and I work with families one-on-one a lot, teaching their kids to get in beds, because it's not always obviously so smooth. But that's just kind of like an undercurrent and an undertone of what it is, okay? So I'm going to pick a few questions here. Like I said, got to take my son to the doctor soon. My 11-year-old is not feeling so well today. So Ashley, my 23-month-old has shown 0 signs of wanting to be out of her crib. She's happy, doesn't try crawling out, typically wakes up and plays with her stuffed animal. Our plan is to wait until she's attempting to climb out before switching her. Thank you for validating my point that I said a minute ago. Okay, we want to switch her to a twin-size bed that can last the majority of her childhood. My question is, when we switch her over, how can we keep her in her bed? Currently, we just put her in her crib and say goodnight and walk out. I don't want to get in a habit of having to stay with her until she's asleep. What's the safest and recommended way to keep her in her room if she climbs out of bed? We shut her door now, but I know eventually she'll figure out how to work the doorknob. So Ashley, this is such a fantastic question because it just covered all the different things that I just talked about. She's 23 months and she's happy. She's shown 0 signs of wanting to be out of her crib. So leave her in her crib. She's not even 2 years old. You have a good at least 6, 7, 8, 9 months, if not a year, till you even have to worry about it. Because like I said, I don't recommend moving kids into beds until they are close to 2.5 or 3. Depends on the child, their personality, your situation, their development, everything. So if she's good to go and she's happy, leave her there. There is no reason to unnecessarily move somewhere and make things more pressured and more difficult for everyone involved. That's number one, that you covered that ground. Number two, you're waiting till she's climbing out of her crib to do it. Don't wait for there to be a problem. If you feel as she gets closer to 2.5, 6 months down the road, 8 months down the road, when she's in that time frame, and you feel that it's a good time and she's ready for it, go for it. You don't have to wait till there's a sign. Because if you're waiting till she's putting up a struggle with you, it sometimes just overcomplicates the situation. So when you feel she's ready and she's in that 2.5 to 3 month bracket, 2.5 to 3 year old bracket, then that's an ideal time to start, and you don't have to wait till she's climbing out, because sometimes you're already missing that hump and then it becomes a whole power struggle altogether. Number three, we talked about what to do to keep her put. Keep the crib in the room, keep her bed in the room, and tell her when you come out, we go in. No negativity, no this, just cause and effect, action, occurrence. That's it. Keep it clean, keep it objective, keep it non-emotional. Definitely don't let it be negative and don't let it come into a threat. And after a few nights, she's going to learn how to do it. And I agree. If you want to keep her in a big girl bed and you don't want to do this whole toddler bed transition, that's fine. But make sure that she feels good about it. A lot of people like to use incentives when their child, we're setting things up technically that she's going to stay put, but you might want to use an incentive for the initial week or two just to make her feel really good about it. A little candy or a little sticker chart or something. You can do all those things too, but it's all just about having it smooth and making sure that you have a plan of action. Don't just try it with no method that she's coming out and it becomes this whole game of sticking her back in. Don't start prematurely, and make sure you have really a consistent way and a consistent method that's going to help you stick with it. Okay, Karen asked a question, because Karen has twins, so she gets this times two. They're the same age. They're actually in playgroup with my 2-year-old. So Karen, when we get to that, you can ask me in the carpool line. I'm just kidding. All right, Laura. My 2.5-year-old is sleeping well in the crib with his beloved Baba pacifier. He's not tried to climb out or show any aversion to the crib. We need to break the passy habit, as I know it's going to start impacting his teeth. Should we work on both transitions at once? Now that we have a baby sleeping mostly through the night, I feel like it's time to tackle this. This is a really good question, okay? Now, was it last week or the week before? It's all a big jumble in my mind, but we did just do something recently on pacifiers, Laura. So go in and watch that. It was a video I think it was last week, a video a week or two ago on pacifiers and how to wean away from the pacifier, how to get rid of it, what to do, the best ideas when. But I agree with you fully. I do not recommend doing both transitions at the same time. It's going to be a transition when your child moves from a crib to a bed. So either get rid of the pacifier first, keep 2.5-year-old in his crib, get him used to sleeping without the pacifier, then transition him, or transition him into the bed, and only once the bed is really smooth, get rid of the pacifier, but don't do it at the same time. Too many changes, and it could really make a serious sleep regression happen when it doesn't need to. Okay. Lauren, my daughter will be 3 in August. My husband wants to get her into a big girl room so we can see all the nursery stuff at our garage sale Memorial Day weekend. So you can sell all the nursery stuff. Got it. Okay. She doesn't crawl out at night, but will during the day playing. We had the front side off for a while when she turned 2, but it was a nightmare and it went back up. She was coming downstairs and playing at all hours and not waking me up. Exactly like I just said. It can become a safety hazard when a child is too little and can just climb out and go do things in the middle of the night. You don't want that happening, right? So she's never been a good sleeper. Down at 7. Oh, she's down at 7, up for milk, diaper at 11, and again at 2. She sleeps until 7:30 from there. What would you recommend to make this transition easier and less stressful? I'm afraid if we sell everything and it goes haywire, I'm screwed. I'm going to have a twin bed with a bed rail. Okay, so this is, again, similar question, but different. If she's still waking up frequently throughout the night, I would address that issue first before transitioning her to a bed, because right now, it's pretty smooth and simple. You change her diaper, you give her a sippy cup, you give her milk in the middle of the night when she wakes up. But if she's in a bed, it's no longer going to be her calling out to you and you coming to her. It's going to be her climbing out of her little bed, knocking on mommy and daddy's door, climbing into your bed, and that's going to cause a complete snowball effect of other sleep problems that you don't want to even deal with. So I recommend, Lauren, teach her how to sleep through the night, get her sleeping through the night first, and then when she's sleeping through the night, move her. You can't do well with transitions or change unless you have stability. Anything in life, right? Parenting, moving, all the hundreds of billion things that we do, weight loss, all these things. We can't make change with anything unless we have that really stable undercurrent first. So make sure that she's sleeping through the night first. Even if you have to spend a week or two on it, you can reach out to me. or the other moms in this group, or watch our videos. If you want to get her sleeping through the night, that is definitely the first thing to focus on. And only once she's sleeping through the night, then start enlisting these other ideas. Okay, Lena asked a question about her 8-month-old won't go into a crib. Well, an 8-month-old is definitely way too young to go into a bed. So if you're having issues with your 8-month-old not going to sleep, sounds like there is a lot of other issues going on, Lena. Every time you post, you don't get a straight answer. I'm sorry. The question threads obviously are with that. So right now I'm not going to go into detail about your 8-month-old because right now we're talking about transitions from a crib to a bed. But go back and watch the other videos, ask your questions, or you can always PM me, private message me, reach out to me directly. With an 8-month-old not going into a crib, just very quickly, because I don't want you to feel ignored here if you have been posting your questions. If an 8-month-old's not going into a crib, there's a lot more going on. Probably your baby's overtired, not on a good routine, doesn't know how to self-soothe. Her internal rhythms are all out of whack, and it's probably causing a lot of sleep deprivation altogether, and it's all kind of compartmentalized and kind of getting a bunch of different issues going on that seem like they're individual, but it's all really related. So reach out to me if you want to talk in detail about how I could help you, or post a question, and there's a lot of other awesome moms in here who can guide you. But I'm not going to go into detail now. I'm sorry, Lena, just because this is all about transitions, this thread. Okay. Aubrey, any advice on what age is best to transition? Yes, we just talked about that. We said around 2.5, 3 years old. Are the signs you look for to know that they are ready? What if they keep getting out? Once you switch, do you feel like it's okay to go back to a crib? What are your thoughts on okay to a wake-up clock? How do you feel about toys and stuffed animals in bed? Okay, these are great questions. So number one, we said ideal age we spoke about. If they keep getting out, like I said, you're not going to wait till they keep getting out, because then, like I just told someone else over here, Laura, I believe it was, you're not going to wait till your child is climbing out and then decide that's the ideal time, because you're just setting it up in a place of power struggles, and already the battle has begun before it's even really begun. If, though, your child is ready and happens to be climbing out of the crib too, fine, you can kind of kill all the birds with one stone, but only for child's in that 2.5 to 3-year-old bracket, Aubrey, okay? So the signs to look for they are ready, really, aside from that they might be climbing out and might be in that age bracket, is that you feel like they are mature enough to understand, and I say mature very, very loosely because we're talking about toddlers here, but you feel like they can understand enough the rules. The only rule is that you stay in bed, but they're excited about it. They feel good about it. Honestly, my 2.5-year-old is not ready at all. She's very mature in some aspects, but in terms of this, she is beyond not ready to go into a bed at all. And I'm going to wait until she's closer to 3, probably until she is ready. I generally like kids to be, just personally, this is just me, I like my kids potty trained before I move them into beds, just because I feel like it's a nice transition that kind of goes along together, but you don't have to do that. And my 2.5-year-old is not potty trained yet, so I don't think she's ready to do it yet, for many other reasons also, but it depends on your child and the signs. If they keep getting out, exactly like I talked about, Aubrey, back in the crib. Back in the crib. No emotional attachment from you. No negativity. We've spoken a lot about this emotional umbilical cord, which is what I do when I coach with my families privately. We talk a lot about the mother's emotions and how that's actually affecting your child, subconsciously. But don't do anything if you feel negative about it. Wait till you are ready, also more than anything else. I don't recommend switching back and forth. I don't recommend one night crib, one night bed, one night da-da-da. That's why once you decide to do it, go full force with it and make sure that it's something that you really want to stick with, because otherwise you're going to totally confuse your child. They're not going to know what's up or what's down. That's going to cause them to either climb out of their crib or come out of their bed 100 times at night. You're going to get burnt out and you're not going to get anywhere. So only decide you're going to do it once you're really going to do it full force. It could take a week or so to get your child really acclimated to the bed, but if you do it properly, it's not going to be such a battle. Wake-up clocks are great. Typically not for a child this young, though. They don't understand. Wake-up clocks, for those of you who don't know, it's like a little clock with, usually they have different lights on them, but let's just say a green light when it's time to wake up and a red light when it's not yet time to wake up. So wake up just means coming out of their bed. So obviously a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old can't tell time so well. So what you do is, if you don't want your child coming out of bed till 7 a.m., you have the red light on, and once it hits 7 a.m., it turns green. So a 2.5 or 3-year-old, you can do it, but it's not going to necessarily solve any problems because they are still young to really understand that. Those wake-up clocks are great for kids who are 4, 5, 6 years old in that bracket, okay? You can try it. It sets the tone for at least familiarity with it, but it's not going to solve anything. And how do I feel about toys or stuffed animals, books in bed? I have no problem as long as it's a form of comfort and doesn't become a dependency. What do I mean? I have no problem with a blankie or a stuffed animal or even a book that they like to kind of wind down to and read. But when it becomes something that they're waking up with and playing with, like a toy or a really exciting book with like lights on it, I don't like those. I don't like anything that stimulates. Only things that serve as a calming presence to help your toddler sleep well in their bed, because otherwise it's going to distract them from sleep and it's going to cause things to be in a worse place. Okay, I think that is it. I know there are some more questions. Post below in this video if you have. I'm just looking through. I think I answered most of these questions. Okay, I think I answered most of them. I have to run now because I have to go take my son to the doctor. There's 2 or 3 more questions I didn't get to. So if I didn't clarify this for you enough from this video, just post your questions below and we can talk about it. And if you are interested in getting more tailored sleep advice and you want to work privately with me or you want to learn more about my services and how they work, I'll put a link below to schedule a call with me. And even if I'm not able to help you or you feel like we're not a good fit, at least I can point you in the right direction, give you some advice in terms of what you can be doing differently to help your child sleep. Okay, have an amazing Wednesday and I will see you all later.